Welcome to Front Office Pros. I'm Steve. This is Joe. Today we're going to be talking about 3 players that you should be buying as of Week 14 in regards to their production for the rest of the playoffs and possibly beyond. So, Joe, let's talk about our first player. We were really curious to see how he was going to do with Michael Carter involved as well. But our player that we're buying for the rest of the season for the playoffs, and he was a league winner that we talked about in one of our previous videos. But we're going to be talking about running back Zonovan Knight. He actually looked pretty good this past week. He had 17 attempts for 71 rushing yards and a touchdown. Also got 2 targets, 2 catches for 6 yards. Really outpaced Michael Carter, who only had 5 attempts in this game.
Yeah, I was very interested to see how they were going to split up the carries now that Carter was back between Carter and Knight. But like you said, Knight really dominated in the rushing attempts. And then, Carter still had the passing game role as he had more targets in the passing game. So given that that's kind of how things could possibly play out, as you mentioned, I think Knight's a fine play down your playoff stretch. And then it looks like he could be involved even until Hall comes back at some point next year too.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit actually is becoming a more difficult matchup, as time has gone on. We've been saying they're pretty stingy there, but, it's really shown and people are starting to talk about it more and more, I feel like, around the industry. But Detroit, Jacksonville, and Seattle, that's one of the best playoff stretches you can get for a running back. That's why we identified him as a league winner. But one of the reasons why we're buying him for the future is we had thought once Michael Carter got back involved, would it be more of Michael Carter's role? But you're seeing James Robinson continually being healthy and active. And then you've got Michael Carter, who really took a back seat to Zonovan Knight. It could continue to be that way. And like you said, even when Breece Hall comes back next year, it could be a timeshare between the undrafted rookie and Zonovan Knight and Breece Hall, right, Joe?
Yeah, I don't. It definitely could be. I just don't know how. I still think Hall will dominate the carries when he comes back next year. But Knight will still be, relevant and used next year. I would assume. It looks like, he potentially has surpassed Carter at least.
Yeah, definitely worth somebody to have, and kind of surprising. We thought Michael Carter would be involved, but the Jets just don't believe in him.
Yeah, I mean they proved it once when they traded up for Breece Hall in the draft, even though Carter looked decently impressive his rookie year, and then now the undrafted kid has got more of a role in the offense than Carter even does this year now.
You could say they proved it also when they tried to trade for James Robinson and he never got involved.
Yeah, it's so crazy, man. They trade for him, and then like you said, he's been healthy and active, and they don't even use him. And kind of like what James Robinson said, like why trade for a guy if you're not going to use him?
It's just crazy. So go on to our next player, Joe. This is a guy I haven't really liked in the past, but there's no denying what he did yesterday. Which is running back J.K. Dobbins of Baltimore Ravens. He had 15 attempts, 120 yards. It was an 8-yard per rush average, and he had a touchdown on the day. No targets, though, but definitely very productive in the running game.
Yeah, definitely. The no targets doesn't really bother me too much. It is the Ravens, and they don't pass a ton as it is, and they're mainly a run-first team. So I think he's going to do plenty in the ground game for you to be fantasy relevant. And the one thing that was encouraging to see about Dobbins is unlike when he came back last time, he actually looked more like himself. He had those big runs. I know you questioned kind of that explosiveness because he ended up getting chased down from behind. But one thing was after that big run, though, he stayed on the field and ended up scoring a touchdown. So, I don't know how much, even before the injuries, how much of a guy he was taking it all the way house without getting taken down from behind on those big runs anyways.
So, I mean, does it concern you at all, though, that he had 15 attempts compared to Gus Edwards' 13? I mean, he played the Steelers. Do you think that the 15 attempts he had, is that kind of what we should see the next few weeks, or do you think that he could start to break away from Gus Edwards and start to have more attempts?
I think he could possibly have more attempts. I mean, I was actually surprised he had 15, honestly. I mean, this is the first time he's been back for quite some time since trying to come back from that injury early in the year, just wasn't ready, hadn't had enough time to heal. So to come in and really the first time we've seen him in a long time and get the 15 carries, that was pretty impressive to me. So I think those numbers could only possibly go up from here.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with Dobbins that I don't like about him is that he's always injured and has a lack of availability. And you've got Lamar Jackson, who he takes a lot of carries and he has red zone attempts to get touchdowns. So he ends up vulturing a lot of opportunities for Dobbins. So, it's not, I tried to think about why it is I don't like the player, but I feel like those combining aspects for me just, I don't like him. I know a lot of, it seems like everyone in the industry or a lot of people really like him. But there's a couple of things I think stack against him, but there's no denying what he did this past week, and definitely somebody to buy for these playoffs. I don't know about in the future. I know maybe you feel differently. I'm not sure in 2023, but definitely something to look at for this playoff stretch.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think as far as the future goes, I think a lot, will depend on whether or not Lamar Jackson does come back or not. And, as long as Jackson's there, they're the power run game, and that's just how this team is built and what they do. So that's encouraging. If I'd be interested to see how the offense operates if Lamar Jackson doesn't come back next year.
Yeah, so that'll be really interesting. That'll change. I think we'll get franchised, but that's another topic for another day. So our last player that we're buying now is Chigoziem Okonkwo. Joe, we were just talking about him recently, tight end out of the Tennessee Titans. He had a pretty good day yesterday. He had 6 targets, 6 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, laughed in our prior video talking about him in our start sits. I was said I would start him over David and Njoku, and both of them had fine weeks this past weeks. But 3 weeks with at least 5 targets in a row here. He's big athletic guy, and I know like Hooper was someone involved, but his athleticism is far better than what Hooper brings to the table. And I think with Burks being hurt, definitely helped him as he's kind of the next explosive player for them.
Yeah, 4th round pick out of Maryland, 6'3", he's got great size. We talked about before, I think people getting nervous because they expect is this Jonnu Smith 2.0, and he's just an athletic guy and Jonnu Smith really never took that next step. But Austin Hooper has a 1-year deal left on his contract. And he's 28 years old. I don't necessarily expect him back with the Titans. So you could be seeing Okonkwo taking the lead role next year. So from a dynasty value and with tight end being as unpredictable as it's been, I like Okonkwo moving forward. I think he was a guy who I drafted. Actually, we have 7 rounds in our draft, and I traded up because I wanted to get him. I traded him. So I do like him a lot. I just I'm in win now mode. I want to win, so I had to let him go. But I really like his upside moving forward for sure.
Yeah, well, I think people would understand because you have Pat Fryermuth and Travis Kelce on your team too, so it wasn't like Okonkwo was probably gonna see your starting lineup very soon. But yeah, like you mentioned, going forward for a dynasty player, a lot of times it's hard for tight ends to impact in their rookie year. But the last few weeks he's been showing it, and he could carry it on and kind of be a force at that weak tight end position.
Absolutely. That was 3 players that we're telling you that you should buy now as of week 14 for the playoff stretch and possibly beyond heading into the 2023 Dynasty season, which we're really looking forward to talking to you about so much in Dynasty. And we create several videos on a weekly basis, including some of those that will be coming up here in how crazy, Joe, only a few more weeks till the end of the season. Hard to believe. But you can support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting that notification bell. And if you have any comments, go ahead and put them below in regards to Zonovan Knight or J.K. Dobbins or Chigoziem Okonkwo, or there are other players that you're thinking about buying for the playoff stretch and possibly beyond. We'd be happy to give you our advice. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time.